Good evening, all, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Yogesh Sapkale, Deputy Editor of Moneylife. We are delighted to welcome you to another important webinar organized by Moneylife Foundation. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, Moneylife Foundation is a 13-year-old non-profit organization, primarily spreading financial literacy and advocacy for savers. At Moneylife, we make efforts to spread consumer awareness on a variety of issues that are of interest to our members. As we all know, a credit score is the first and most important metric financial institutions or lenders consider when deciding on an application for a loan or a credit card. Lenders check your credit score to decide how much loan they are willing to sanction and what interest rate. Your score also shows whether or not you have a history of financial stability and responsible credit management. It is therefore important that we should understand factors that affect a credit score and how to improve a poor credit score. As we all know, with the increase in online and digital frauds, scammers have found ways to steal personal information and are found availing loans under the name of an unsuspecting borrower. Such fraudulent loan accounts are only discovered when the borrower checks the credit report. It is therefore equally important to understand how one can rectify errors in their credit report, which may inadvertently impact their credit score. To help us learn specific strategies for repairing a poor credit score, including how to dispute errors on your credit report, negotiate with the creditors, and improve credit utilization, we have invited Aparna Ramchandra. Aparna is the founder director of Rectify Credit, India's first credit advocacy, advisory, and counseling company. She has an MA in economics and a PG in banking and finance. She is also a certified financial planner. Aparna is an active blogger and has been a columnist with the Mint, Outlook Money, Femina, and Moneylife as well. Since seeing debt from an emotional and humanitarian perspective, she has made it to her mission to educate people on the implications of defaults and its effects on credit profiles. Aparna has conducted many workshops on credit-related issues for various organizations, and she has also taught at business schools across Mumbai. Apart from this, Aparna is an ultra-marathoner, having run many half marathons in India, and she is also a cyclist who has cycled from Goa to Mumbai. She is an avid traveler and a polyglot who speaks and understands 12 languages, and she can write in 5 of them. Now, without taking too much time, I just wanted to share a few rules for our today's session. We have kept all of you on a mute during the session for the benefit of all involved, and we'll unmute you during the question and answer session. For optimal viewing, we request you to keep the webinar on speaker view mode. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on our YouTube channel. And during the question and answer, please use the raise hand button available on Zoom if you wish to ask any questions. Now over to you, Aparna.
Thanks, Yogesh. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us on this webinar. So before we get into the presentation and the whole story about good credit, bad credit, what happens, and all of that, what I would like to first very clearly emphasize is very basic. A credit report, because a lot of people come to us saying that, I have a 6-figure salary and I have so much of insurance, I have so many FDs, I invest in the mutual funds, but still there is no bank that is giving me a loan or I'm not getting a card. So please remember, a credit report, a credit score, a credit profile is only looking at the debt side of your story. It has nothing to do with your investment. It has got nothing to do with your insurance or how much FDs you have and all of that. So a credit report is typically only talking about the debt side of the story. So when I say debt side, it is talking about all kinds of loans, all kinds of credit cards, and so the whole rigmarole is there as far as the debt is concerned. Now, most of you must be aware, I'm just giving the basics. So if Akshay can just start the, or Tushar, I don't know, someone can just start the PPT for me, please. Yeah, so go to the next one. So the next slide. So typically these are questions that all of us either have faced ourselves or there is someone who's looking for answers for these questions. So the first one that it says is my loan application has been rejected. by the bank, and I don't know why. So typically, when you go to a bank, to apply for a loan, or or when you get those SMSs which says that there is already a pre-approved loan for you, and you're very happy to accept that loan, and you say, okay, then I accept, and you click on the link, and next thing you know, you get a mail. At least now there is a mail that comes saying that we are regretting to inform that your application has been rejected. Good 7 8 years ago, even this didn't happen. So you were left literally high and dry, not able to figure out what really happened. So the first thing, which is like across board a common question, is my loan application has been rejected and I don't know why. Then it says, how do I know my information that is available with the credit report? And in India, unfortunately, like how photocopy is known as Xerox, credit report has become de facto CIBIL report, but it is actually a credit report which is given by 4 bureaus in India. But we all know it as CIBIL report. So most of them wonder that, maybe the information that is available with CIBIL or with the credit bureau is right, wrong, I don't know, which is why this reason why this might be getting rejected. Then when you apply for a credit report, let me tell this once again, like I always emphasize, today there are a lot of fintechs or companies which are there digitally, who are trying to woo you, saying that, we are going to give you a free credit report, a free credit score basis, which we will, approve, or, get you the loan in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nanoseconds. Please, it is an humble request. Don't share your data with these companies where you don't know who they are. Typically, you just need to do a 2-minute homework on this. First, check if there is a website available. If they are somebody who is just functioning with a Play Store app, then you please make sure that you don't say yes to any of those messages or SMSs. There has to be a website. Plus, there has to be a process in place as to how do you reach out to them. If everything is via Play Store, you download the app, next thing you know, you are going to be one more statistic in those horror stories that we read on the newspapers. So please do not go and say yes to anybody that is offering you a free credit report. For your kind information, RBI has already made it compulsory for each of these bureaus to give you one free credit report every year. So literally, we have 4 bureaus, you can pull out a free credit report every quarter. So I mean, if you really want to save your money, but please don't share your data with these fintech companies that are, scouting online. Then it says, another question we get is, I'm not getting my home loan. In a home loan, the typical, it's like a Hindi movie script. So somebody goes, they like a house, then they go to the bank, and then the banker says, submit us these documents. So the agent who's, trying to sell you that property connects you to the bank that has approved this project. So you go there, submit your papers, you're ready with your down payment for the home loan, and next thing you know, your home loan is rejected. So, and that is when, and for us Indians, a home loan is a very emotional issue. So when that gets rejected, people take it very badly. Like a credit card rejection is still all right. I mean, after a coffee or a tea, someone is able to deal with it. But a home loan rejection becomes a very touchy topic. So this is another story that we regularly get. Then the basic is, how do I improve my credit score? And I will explain to you today that credit score is not the be all and end all of this whole thing. It is the credit profile that we need to be focusing on. And how can I clear my issues in the credit report? So today I will try and, I will answer these questions by the by as we go along. Next slide, please. So this is just for you to chew. So it is typically a document which has, like I told you, it gives you the details about, basically there are 4 things. The first part is your, your contact details. So your address is there, your PAN is there, your mobile number, your all of that is there. Last three addresses are there if you're someone who's moved addresses. Then you have the entire history of all the loans that you have. The latest is on the top, the oldest is at the bottom. And in this list, it consists of all the loans and cards that you have taken so far. So whether they are open, they are ongoing, they are closed, you have defaulted, all is well, you have had a suit filed, that entire story is part of this portion in that credit report. So here I would like to emphasize once again, a credit report is not like your Sade Sat Shani or whatever, because sometimes people come and tell us, Are humko to somebody told us after 7 years everything gets erased. So this is not like a Sade Sati that it just gets over in 7 years. This credit history is for life. So from the time, I think the oldest records that are there in the bureau is somewhere around 92, 94. Some bank, I mean, the earlier Citibank and stuff, they had submitted data to the bureaus from 92 or 94. So from there, if you were the borrower then, from there to now, so the entire history will continue to be there. So at no point in time, this is going to get erased. So if somebody is trying to tell you that, don't bother, you can just, default and have fun, and after 7 years, everything is going to go. No, they are just pulling a fast one. Please don't believe them. And also, in the last part of that credit report is your enquiries. Now, here again, there are a lot of people who believe that, the enquiry, because of these advertisements that the Bureau did to simplify understanding the credit report. So, a lot of people think that, an inquiry leads to a loan rejection. It doesn't work like that. Lot of inquiries in the last 90 days, it does impact, but why it impacts is, please understand, why is a credit report so important? Because the new lender wants to know what kind of a borrower you are before he takes a call on you. Whether he needs to take that risk on you, or he needs to, be sure that this is not someone that I would want to be taking a risk on. So that is what he's basically looking at. So he's looking at, where you're working, what kind of loans you have taken, whether you've been good with your payments, or whether you've been someone who systematically made late payments. Now, all of us, survived this pandemic. So most of the banks know that between 2020 March, or actually market had started going, budge out from Jan Feb itself. So from there till say 22, bankers it is again a mixed bag, but they kind of know that, this is something that people have gone through, and some have made late payments, some have taken that moratorium. So all of that. So that is where the new lender is looking at your credit report. So coming back to my inquiry, so if there is someone, say for example, I'll give you an example. So there was a guy that came to us and he said, ma'am, I have just got a job, and I think he was working with Infosys. I'm not sure. So he said, I'm working with Infosys and I have a fabulous salary. And the very second month of me joining there, I got a credit card because ICICI account is where the salary account was, and all was well. And it is now almost a year, and I'm trying to apply for a car loan, and nobody's giving me that car. And I was just, generally checking with him, and he says, no, I have not. I have only a credit card, and my salary is there, and both are with ICICI, and I'm trying to get a car loan. And so I asked him, what kind of a car loan are you looking at, and which car are you buying? And this kid was like 27, 28. And he turns back and he tells me that it's that Beetle that I want to buy. And I'm like, what? So he says, yeah, that's the car that I'm looking for. So I said, but is your salary matching to that thing. So he says, no, my banker told me that because age is on my side, I can take this loan for a longer time and I'll be able to pay this. So I said, by somebody has given you a big nonsense here. So now please understand, a auto loan, for example, max they will stretch is 7 years. They cannot give you an auto loan like a home loan, which is for 25 years. Okay. So please be very, very clear. Why I'm giving you all this story is, please be very clear as to what is it that you are signing up for. And today, if you Google, there is whole lot of gyan that is so systematically put there. All you need to do is read for 5 minutes. Nothing more than that. Now, this guy comes back to me and says that, oh no, that 56 lakh gadi I can't obviously buy. But I told them that, okay, then let me buy a Honda City. But the banker is telling that he's still going to reject my auto loan. So I told him what happened. So I said, first send me your credit report. Let me go through your credit. Now, when I go through the credit report, fair enough, the kid had a credit card and he had not defaulted on that credit card. And whatever he had spent, he had paid, and all was well as far as that credit card was concerned. But lo behold, when I went, when I was just going through, this kid in that 6 months, believe me, he had almost 2 pages full of only enquiries in the end. So he had literally gone shopping on the high street like nobody's business. So there were, auto loans, there were credit cards, there were personal loans, there was loans against shares, and whole lot of things. And obviously the new lender was like, boss, तुमने इतना सारा shopping किया है, and nowhere has this been approved. So when I'm putting 2 and 2 together, you are a high risk candidate. I don't want to touch you. And which is where the new banker was again further rejecting this kid's application. So the inquiry is very, very critical from this perspective. So let me again repeat, when you are not looking for a particular loan, or you know that you can manage your life without that loan, kindly don't say yes to any inquiries, any requests that come to you. Okay. So a lot of people, of course, now in the last 7-8 years, those credit card calls have stopped because basically banks have now stopped selling credit cards. Otherwise, good 7-8 years ago, the people who are attending little older would remember, anybody with 2 legs, 2 eyes, or even one hand was given a credit card by banks, and they were sold like there was no tomorrow. And people in India didn't know what to do with a credit card, how to negotiate, nothing was known. And people just said yes to a credit card, and when the credit card came home, a lot of them said, oh, I didn't want this, somebody just gave me, so I have cut it and I have thrown it in the bin. But 5 years later, that cutting in the bin came back to haunt them. So please do not say yes to pre-approved loans. There are messages these days by these online lenders, these fintech lenders, that says that buy now, pay later. So 1 lakh is approved for you. Then typically last week of the month you get these messages that says payday loan, and if you have problem paying your EMIs this month, we are happy to chip in. Please remember, except your family, there is nobody happy to chip in when you are in deep mess. Okay, so nobody is happy to help you unless there is a pound of flesh that they want to fleece from you. So these are all scenarios that you are not going to say yes to, because these are what is tomorrow going to come as your inquiry. So this is what a credit report is. Next slide, please. So like I repeated, we have 4 credit bureaus in India. So CIBIL being the first one, then we have CRIF Highmark, and then we have Experian, and then we have Equifax. Typically, if you pull your own credit report from all the 4 bureaus at the same time, there is going to be a difference of 15 to 20 points plus or minus. So please don't take this as your IIT entrance score and go very get very touchy about it. It only means that some banks have not submitted the data to a particular bureau, or some of your banks have at that moment or that cycle the data is not updated. So it is just and their own internal algorithm. Now this internal algorithm is like the Coke's formula. Nobody knows what it is, but typically we know what are the factors that affect this score. But how? Because I have seen people coming in giving me gyan that पर्सनल लोन का 20 पॉइंट होता है, एड्रेस का 10 पॉइंट होता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता है. So we don't know what that logic is, but fact of the matter is credit report is typically between 0 to 900 or 300 to 900. Nobody in India ever gets a 900 score. So I have people calling me saying that, getting very upset that my score is only 840, but I haven't done anything. Why am I being penal? Boss, this is not like I tell you again, this is not your IIT entrance that, 60 marks and you're going to lose a seat. Be very happy with 840 and just go to bed peacefully. So just don't bother. And again, I'll give you stories now. See, a credit score is one of the parameters which the banker is looking at when he's deciding whether he needs to give you that loan or not. Okay. So there are a whole lot of other factors that one is looking at. Now, typically, I have had a guy. He works in one of those Fortune 500 companies, and he's like, a board member and a very senior guy. And he is looking to buy a property where he's trying to apply for a 8 CR ka home loan. So guy comes to me and he's like, you have no idea. This is so humiliating, and somebody's just rejected my, home loan request, and everything is fine. And I don't know why they did this, blah, 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 blah. This went on. Now, when you are looking at a credit report, and then he kept telling me on the call that, I have a score which is 790, and I have been told that anything above 720 is fabulous, and how can they do this? How can they do this? Now, I will answer for benefit of all of you. Typically, this whole algo or math of this credit bureau, they are looking at last 6 months and last 24 months ka data. Sorry. So if you are someone, now this guy's story, let me tell you. This guy was that standard IIT and IIM and thing. So when he was studying in his IIT, his father had taken an education loan. And subsequently, he took over that loan, saying that I will repay that loan. And because IIT in the second year, he got some internship or whatever, and he was earning. So he said, I will pay. So those days, I think he had given his IIT hostel address, and where he opened the bank account, and he was paying. And the last EMI, he assumed that he had paid, but he had not paid. And it was some 1,800 rupees or something that was there, and he thought he had paid, and he forgot about it. And then IIM happened, the rest happened, and then he got all, he went on foreign tours, this, that, and the other. And initially, I think he had bought a property which was like some 10, 12 years ago. So maybe those days, credit report, nobody checked, or seeing his face, they gave a loan. I don't know. But now, because this was a high ticket loan, obviously all the due diligence was to be done. And he says, I have a score of 790, and why are they still rejecting me? And they don't know who they are talking to, this, that. And then when we see the report, this 1,850 rupees at last EMI that he had not paid had come back to haunt him. Because this loan, the bank, when we started talking, so when he came to us, so we said, okay, don't worry, let me figure out. Now, because this was such an old loan, this had, from the bank, gone to a collection agent. From the collection agent, that whole portfolio, everything had happened, and now it was sitting with some ARC. So we had to go to the ARC, figure out what happened, where this account is, and then talk to them. So typically, this is a standard story again. If the account is very old because of these banking norms, Basel 2, 3, 4, whatever, what happens is banks are not allowed to sit on these NPA accounts on their books for a very long time. So they typically assign this to a collection agent. So there are buckets, 90-day bucket, 120-day bucket, whatever. So if you are aware, if someone here has made little late payment, they will know. Suppose your payment date for your credit card, say for example, was 4th of April. So 4th April, say, and you've been someone who's paid on time and stuff like that. 5th, 6th, they don't bother you. But uske baad is when the calls will start that, Arey, you've not paid. When are you going to pay? Are you going to pay, but do pay online, or are you going to pay, via check, or, all of that. So then if you still don't pay for another 2-3 days, then the calls are no more as sweet. They get little more aggressive. So this story starts. So typically, in this period, if you are trying to, because sometimes aisa bhi hota hai ki you don't know where to pay. Sometimes that also is a scenario, because you miss the date, then online you're not able to pay, or net banking is not working, whatever XYZ reason. So then that is the time where you can call the customer care, and those 8 standard fail who are answering your calls on the customer care, they will answer your phone and say, yes, madam, this is what it is, and you can go here and make the payment or deposit the check or whatever. But when typically this account becomes an NPA, and then it goes to a collection agent, and then subsequently it lands up in an ARC, then when you wake up, now for example, this hero of ours, IIT IM, when he woke up and he figured out what had happened, so he picked up the phone and called his relationship manager. And he said, I don't know what it is, you've been earning so much out of my portfolio. So now go figure out what this is and help me. Now the relationship manager, whatever he tries, he cannot do anything, because this account is no more in the banking what do I call ecosystem, because it has been assigned to an ARC. So that is where company like ours, Rectify Credit, we come into the picture. So we do all this legwork. So then when we figured out that this was with an ARC, then when I was just talking to that guy, I said, subsequently, how come you guys never tried to do any collection calls or whatever? Because my client says he never got any call, otherwise he would have paid that 1,800. So he says, madam, please remember, he had given us a IIT ka hostel ka address. Wahan se wo nikal gaya. So nobody knew where he was. 2, those days mobile numbers were not there, landline numbers were there. Now hostel mein landline, who will know what it is? Then, thirdly, this is also pre-PAN card era. So through PAN card, tracking or whatever, even that was not possible. So for whatever reasons, even if the bank had tried to, get in touch with him and try and collect this 1,800 rupees, it was not possible because this guy was not reachable. So that is where this whole story had blown out of proportion. So what you also have to take home from this story is 3 things. First, if you are going to be giving addresses which are not your permanent addresses, please make sure after you move from there to inform your lenders that you are moving from here. This is your duty number 1. Duty number 2 is when you are closing a loan or you are moving places during the duration of the loan, please make sure that all your communication is up to date. If your loan is typically, personal loan, education loan, which are like shorter duration. So if you feel that this is your last EMI, you feel this is the last EMI, but the banker says, aur ek EMI baki hai, make sure that you have communicated to them in a written format that I'm assuming this is my last EMI. Can you please close this and give me the NOC? So two things will happen. Either the banker will come back and say, nahi, nahi, ye last nahi hai, और एक EMI pending है, या फिर he will come back and say, yes, yes, we'll issue you the closure letter. But don't stop your story at the closure letter. You need to make sure that you collect the NOC, because what happens is the closure letter is like I giving you on a kacha slip that yes, you paid me money. That kacha slip has no value anyway. Unless I give it to you on my letterhead, then there is some weightage. And if I sign an MOU with you on a stamp paper, it is further, legally क्या बोलते हैं, उसमें और दम है. So typically a closure letter at the bank level is peanuts. Tomorrow when you get into trouble, that closure letter will hold you nowhere. So please make sure that you collect the NOC, because only when the system has generated the NOC for a particular account is where it will get updated with the bureau. Otherwise, this closure letter is just hanging. So it doesn't mean anything to anybody. So coming back to our hero, we further then had to figure out that, this 1850 had obviously ballooned. Then we negotiated that amount. Then we made sure that he didn't get into any settlements. We got a proper closure done. Again, an NOC was collected. That got updated. And now our uncle is in the process of getting that 8 crore loan done. Hopefully he calls me for the housewarming party. Next slide, please. So like I told you, payment history is there, all the credit grantor details is there. Typically people come back saying that, I have very good banking balance, I have so much FD, this, that, but nobody's talking about the credit transaction there. So this credit report is where it talks about the credit transaction. And if you ask me, if you sit and go through a person's credit report, it tells you a lot about the personality of that individual. Because with your debt, how you behave is a sign, according to me, of your financial discipline. See, SIP डालो, insurance खरीदो, all that, that people do. And SIP auto debit में चलता रहता है, and whatever. But when it comes to your debt is where, one needs to be so diligent and responsible, because lot of people take these credit cards and then they say, when they're applying for a credit card, they always come and tell me that, nay, only one credit card, I want an Amex credit card, I want this card, I want that card. You may have all the cards on planet Earth, but if you are not responsible, I always tell, a credit card is like the monkey in your wallet, okay? If you know how to tame the monkey, then that monkey can do wonders to you, because a credit card does amazingly good things to your credit profile, your credit score, your ability to get new loans, everything. Because if you're very good with your credit card, automatically your credit profile improves, your credit score is good, and the new lender is, very happy with your financial prudence and all is well. But if the monkey becomes the drunk monkey and starts to dance on your head, then it can really take you into deep, trouble. Because if you have mucked around with your credit card, that can be the beginning of your downfall, because anything that you do wrong with your credit card, it impacts your credit profile like nobody's business. So this whole credit score is like, this profile is like a snake and ladder game. If you're doing good, if you're behaving well with your loans, it rewards you and you climb up the ladder. But after you climb up the ladder, you are not careful, you don't look left, you don't look right, then there is a snake there and you are again down. So please remember, credit card, and people ask me, typically, if you are someone who's very good with your, money, and you're very disciplined and all of that, It's okay if you have 2 credit cards or 3 credit cards. I know somebody, I have a client, he's been working with me for the last 3-4 years now. So this guy, typically what he does is he has one credit card where it is a, that typically add-on card with the Indian oil. So he fills his diesel or whatever using that credit card. So he earns points. So, that gives him some 50 liters per year free or something like that. So he has one card for that. Then there is one card that he's given his wife where she buys the grocery from, so they get cash back points and all of that. Then there is one credit card which he has kept, which he uses to buy all his insurance premiums, air tickets, holidays. So there are points that he earns, and typically he does this juggling where end of the year there is a very neat decent saving and earning that they do out of this credit card spend. Now this is like the topper in the class. Every mother wants that the child should be like that, so it is someone like that. But I mean, that's like the best case scenario. But if you are someone who that you are going to be an impulsive buyer, or you can't remember which date is due, or you don't know whether because there are some people where salaries don't come on time, or they are self-employed, so always the money is not available in the account. So that's where typically they don't set up a direct debit, they prefer to pay themselves. But if you are someone who's not very disciplined with your money, then typically what you need to do is have one credit card and put everything in that credit card, and make sure that you pay on time, and take care of that credit card. Otherwise you are going to be in deep trouble. So if you are good, you can do with 2 credit cards or even 3 credit cards. But if you are not so good, then start with one credit card. But according to me, every single person who is 25 and above and is earning should have a credit card. So there are some people who come to me saying that, oh, my father has told me not to ever I have a credit card because he never believed in, using the credit card. And so I have never got a credit card. Now, this is like, typical when I'm in my late 40s now. So when we were learning how to drive, some of the girls' dads had told them that come what may, you are just going to drive from the left side of the street and on the road, and you're just going to stick to your lane. And bloody, if you're there is a lane, a signal where you need to be taking the left, you can't be standing there, because if you need to go on the right, so you need to have this sense as to where you are heading and what is it that you are doing. So your dad must have told you in whatever zest, but you need to know because you are driving now. So similarly, a credit card doesn't mean you have to go bonkers when you shop. A credit card, for like I always tell people, when people are admitted in the hospital, typically earlier, like a good 3-4 years ago, I don't know what was the logic, but hospitals didn't accept debit cards, but they were happy to take a credit card. So in a scenario like that, if you didn't have a credit card, then what do you do? So credit card is good on that. There's a personal emergency, you can always swipe that credit card, and it is not like you swipe today and tomorrow morning you need to pay that, right? You have time where you can plan, and at least that emergency you've taken care. Then online, these railway booking, airfare booking and all of that, credit card is nicer. I mean, most of them accept. So please have a credit card, but then it is it is like not mandatory that the minute you have a credit card you have to shop, and you have to if they've given you a 5 lakh credit card limit, it's not necessary that every month you have to reach that 5 lakh credit. That is your upper limit. But whatever you need, use that credit card, because that credit card does very good to you. And next slide, please. So I think I've been just talking, so I thought let me just share one or two stories with you, all where, in the last 13, 14 years that we have worked, we have had all kind of people across board, with very interesting, some very scary, some very sad stories. Now, if you all remember, I think these days it is reduced quite a bit. Earlier, there used to be banks where they would also only give you a loan if there is a guarantor for you. Okay. Now, typically, please understand, if you're your best friend. I had a candidate, I mean a client who came. She was this young girl who used to be working in a next slide. Huh? She used to be working in a call center. So these kids working in that call center, they were all, typically in their early 20s. And you know how call centers work. They don't stick in any call center for very long, typically 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, whatever, and they keep jumping. So this girl had this another boy who used to be sitting next to her on that what do you call those workstation. And she said him and I, we always moved jobs together. So this was our fourth or fifth job together. And he was I really knew him, and he would come home, and my mom, because he was not from Bombay, so sometimes if he was very homesick, he would come home and my mom would cook for him, and all of that. And then she said one of the days, his mom had to undergo an emergency surgery, and that is where he needed the money. And now, because I've given you the background, call center, typically these kids have maxed out on their credit card, and they all have one or two personal loans that they have taken, and very, very, very few are really there who have paid back their personal loans on time properly. Otherwise, personal loans are always, always, always defaulted. So typically, when do they take a personal loan? Because salaries is already blown out. Credit card they have maxed, and that is where they take this personal loan. So this girl, coming to our story, so this guy was with her and they had worked together. So she thought she knew him very well, and his mom was undergoing a surgery. So this girl gave him her credit cards, and she said, "Go swipe in the hospital. पहले आंटी का surgery हो जाने दो, and फिर let her get better." And this girl gave the credit card. This girl got the SMSs on the on her mobile that he had swiped for whatever amount and all of that. And then a week happened, 10 days happened, and this boy never came back to work. And she also was trying to call him, and his phones were not reachable. And they typically work like in a commune, like everybody knows everybody, and where they stay, what happened here. So she tried figuring out, and this kid was nowhere to be traced. And good, like 3 months later, she comes to know that this whole story was a hoax. So this boy never had any mother that was undergoing any surgery. And next thing you know, this girl had three of her credit cards which were maxed, and obviously that guy was not going to pay. So last 2 3 months, this she was defaulting because she didn't have the bandwidth to repay these kind of amounts for on three cards. And the collection guy started hounding her. And then beyond a point, the easiest thing you do is you remove the SIM and you throw, and you get a new SIM and you sit. And she thought she was being very smart. But then what happened is, after 3 months, she realized that with her current job, she's never going to make anything in life, and she wanted to move to a bank now. And when she applied for this banking job, she didn't know that these days banks are checking credit reports, credit scores. And the HR called saying that the rest of it is all fine, but you are being rejected because your credit score and your credit profile is bad. And that is when she came crying to us saying that, "Madam, please help because I need this job," and all of that. So in a story like this, there are multiple lessons to be learned. First, there is blood is always thicker than water, or whatever you call. So, people that you don't know, you have no, long history with, or even if it is your friend, your best friend, then make sure that you know where they stay, where the parents are or the family is. You at least know two people in the family that you can reach out to for this person, stuff like that. Do your background verification, do your work before you give your credit card to somebody. Second, this girl, when she was getting those SMSs that this money was swiped, this money was swiped, she just saw the amount and she left it at that. They were not being swiped from a hospital, they were being swiped from some online website. So when you get those messages on your mobile, don't be dumb enough to just see what it is and delete. Read, always read, and take that 2 seconds extra to understand what is going on. Otherwise, there are people where, their credit card has been compromised somewhere data, and then somebody is just having fun online, and these guys are just sitting there because हाँ पता नहीं साइलेंट पे था फोन, मैंने देखा ही नहीं, फिर खोल के देखता हूँ तो 7-8 मैसेजेस थे, फिर पता नहीं. अरे don't do that, read. So this girl had missed out on the second red flag. The third thing that which is very very important for all, when the bank calls you saying that madam there is so much amount that you have not paid, and when are you planning to pay, or will you pay via check or online net bank, whatever, talk to that person on the phone. Dodging calls or changing the SIM or throwing away the old SIM doesn't help anybody. Doesn't help anybody. Okay. And what you think you have shoved under the carpet and you've moved on is going to be a monster tomorrow that's going to come and hit on your face. So when these collection calls come, pick up the phone and say, yes, it is me. I don't know where, or for example, this girl, that somebody has misused my card and it's a friend, but I know I have been duped, but give me time. Ask them if they can convert this into a one single loan, which you will pay for the next 3 years. Or ask them what are your best case, options. Figure out what is it that you can do given your current source of income. And all this communication, people, please don't use WhatsApp. Put that on an email, because tomorrow you change your phone or there is something that happens to your phone, that whole data is gone. A, that is end of the story. B, you cannot go show this WhatsApp to somebody and you don't know who that other joker is to whom you are sending all these messages. That person may not even have the authority to respond to your queries or approve or disapprove your request. So always do this communication via email, so that, say for example, like our IIT IM story, which was like a 12-15-year-old story. If there is an email, there is a trail of communication that you can go back to. If you do this, that's the end of the story. So please don't do WhatsApp business. Always put it on an email. So now this girl, when she came, all these credit cards had nicely, become big, nice, neat sums. And she was not going to get that job because the new bank said that unless the credit report is sorted, we are not going to be able to give you this job. So that job though anyway went. But then what we did with her in Rectify Credit was, I told her, you are like a TB patient now. So first you need to be given antibiotics, and then you need to be on a multivitamin therapy with us for good 2-3 months. And that is when you will be able to be up and about and you'll be able to walk. So don't be in a tearing hurry to do anything that tomorrow you go and sign up for a marathon. It is as simple as that. So then what we did was first got all those credit card debts that were there. We put that together, and then we found out that thankfully in her good days she had made some investments in some dumped those mutual funds, and there was some insurance and stuff like that. So we took out that, and then there was a neat sum that we arrived at, which at least we were able to repay partially these. And then we made a plan which was like a good 6-month plan, where we told her, we guided her that, this is what you pay first, this is what you pay second, this is what you pay third, and end of 6 months, you are out of the woods, and now you can go apply for that job, and then, further. So there are scenarios sometimes where, some old dead investments come handy. Sometimes you are left with no option. Now, in a scenario like this, because your credit profile is already bad, you're also not going to get any personal loan or any top-up loan or whatever, where you take that and pay. People on theory give you ज्ञान that अरे उसमें क्या है, होम लोन का टॉप अप ले लो, उसमें आप ये सब पैसा चुका सकते हो, आप SIP करो, उसका करो. SIP is not the solution for everything on planet Earth. I'm sorry to say, but there are people who were even in the moratorium giving ज्ञान that why it is so important to give to an SIP. And people didn't have money to eat. Yeah, what did they do an SIP? So SIP is not the solution. But sometimes these dead investments or something that is lying there, it can help you get out of it. But if your credit profile is already messed up, you're not going to get any new loans. So the other option that you have is, friends and family, someone that you can fall back on. And because earlier there were companies that used to give loans to their employees, but these days nobody does that, because no employee also sticks and no company is also there for a very long time, because next thing tomorrow morning they've shut shop. So both ways it works. So those options are not there. So moral of the story is, always keep something in the background so that you have something to fall back on, just in case something were to happen, is where I'm coming from. So this was one story. The second story was, this was a very well-known Marwadi industrial family from Ahmedabad. They had made their wives, who had nothing to do with the business. I mean, those women didn't even know what their husbands did for a living, or what their company manufactured, or where it got sold and at what price, nothing. But all these women were directors in the company. And like we all know, you make them director, unka PAN card, unka IT file karo, then you take salary from the company. So basically, these were tools to take the money out of the company and all of that. So what these guys had done, the husbands, the father-in-law, the brother-in-law, whoever, the men in the family, was all the loans were taken in these directors that were these females. So there were 4 in that family. And these women had blissfully signed on these papers, because whatever money they drew from the company, they didn't even have access to that amount or account or whatever. But they were all given, like, typically pocket money, where unka kharcha pani was taken. So they were typically trained कि जो भी paper आता है, कुछ पूछना नहीं है, देखना नहीं है, sign करना है. So these women had signed, and the loans were taken, and there was working capital, there was OD facility, there was loan on the factory, and all kinds. And these 4 women were the borrowers. And then when the company went belly up, these women started getting the calls. And they had no clue as to where this was coming from. So initially they would give the phone calls. I mean, they wouldn't answer the phone, and then they started saying, I don't know who this is, and I have no idea what this is. And then good 3 months later, they discovered that all these loans were in their names, and the husbands had conveniently not put their names on any of the loans. So there were typically 2 women on each loans. Okay, so between the 4, these loans were circulated. So directors or whatever. So then the collection calls, those, it got really ugly, and all of that. And one of them in that lot came to me saying that 4 of us are stuck like this, and is there something that you can do? And she had very smartly come to me without the men in the family knowing about it. So that is where then, I found out, and then obviously we had to work around and make sure that these people are, they repay those loans and get out and all of that. So what I'm trying to tell here is, even if it is family, even if it is your father, I'm not trying to break families here, but what my only humble request to all the educated people out here, even literate, I'm not saying educated, I'm saying, because whatever paper, bank, a form, letter, please read. And even if you sign it because you trust the person, at least know what you are signing up for. At least know what are your responsibilities towards that instrument that you are signing, so that tomorrow if something were to go wrong, you are at least aware as to what is coming your way. Don't be so blissfully ignorant. See, if everything is fine, all is well, everything ends well. But we are living in such uncertain, such scary times. I mean, every other day there is a story in the newspaper where the guy has slept and in the morning he is not to be alive. I mean, they've just had a massive heart attack. You go to work and you don't come back. Or, I mean, forget those extreme stories. There are people who are losing jobs like there is no tomorrow. What do you do then? So please, even if one is, don't trust anybody blindly. I would go to that extent. But even if you want to trust and you feel the world is really all full of roses and strawberries, then at least read what you are signing up for. Okay, so that you are aware as to what is it that you have signed up for. This is the second story where there are multiple things that you needed to be aware of. Now, third is where so there are people who take loans. They have the ability to repay. There is no problem. But it is their employment is such that they don't get their salaries on time, or sometimes the salary comes 2 months at a time. I mean, the lot of trading community has this issue. So then what happens is, if you go and sign up for a loan which requires you to pay an EMI on a monthly basis, then imagine every month you are going to be delaying your payments. Every month you are going to end up paying penalty charges. And worst is, if in such a scenario you get into that direct debit facility where so the bank comes and hits your bank account and there is no fund available, so there is a late payment charge, there is a penalty, there is a, falana dhimkana, there is a whole story of charges. And imagine every second month you are going to end up paying these charges. So don't do that. If you already know your story and you know for a fact that हर महीना पैसा नहीं आता है अकाउंट में, लेकिन पैसा होता है, ऐसा नहीं कि तुम्हारे पास पैसा नहीं, then go tell your banker that you will pay once in a quarter. That option is available. So explain the situation and tell them why you want to say once in a quarter. Maybe there is a tad higher amount that you will pay in terms of the interest, because the bank has to wait for 3 months for its money to come compared to every month ka EMI. But trust me, that is still better than doing this every second month of penalty and late payment and all of that. So always when you sign up for a loan or you are looking for a loan, first make sure that you really need the loan. If you don't need the loan, don't take the loan. If you are going to take the loan, understand what is it that you're signing up for. Every other person that I meet, I don't know how many of you will now be nodding your heads because I don't see you. People take home loans from cooperative banks, small banks, NBFCs. I'm not against it. I'm not saying you shouldn't take. But then please understand, their cost of fund is already expensive. So they are going to charge you a higher rate of interest. Okay, in 9.5 or 10 scenarios. Why I'm telling 9.5 is, sometimes some NBFCs do give good rates for home loans, but you don't know if they're going to go belly up. A home loan A is a very long-term loan. So we are talking about 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, that kind of a cycle. B, the amount is always higher. मतलब आज की तारीख में 40-50 लाख is the smallest. अगर 80-90 lakhs के नीचे कोई home loan नहीं है, because everywhere it is expensive. So the amount is huge. Okay, so don't be lazy when you are applying for a home loan. People, they are they'll Craig. I just 2 days ago I met an industrialist, and he's telling me he's into this. वो NA land बनाते, they do that agricultural land, then they do that NA, and then they do plotting and sell plots. So for them, what happens is each of that project they form a new private limited or a LLP company, and वो project खत्म होता है, and that company gets dissolved. So these guys had between 4 partners, they had some 6 or 7 as a companies, and they take loan because and once they start selling the plot is where they recover the money. So these guys knew that monthly unke paas paisa nahi hone wala. As and when the plot sell is where they make the money. So he's telling me, अरे मैडम best is cooperative bank, वो लोग ऐसा नाच के गा के आके हमको लोन दे के जाते. So I'm asking them how much interest rate you are paying this, and he says, हाँ 12.5 से 14%. And these are all loans which in a regular bank they can get these same loans at 8%, 8.5%. So imagine month on month the difference in the EMI. And so please, when you are signing up for a home loan, I can understand if you are not being eligible by a tier 1 bank. For example, if you are self-employed, your papers are not up to the mark, or you've just gone through a rough patch and you're now moving up, and it's a cooperative bank that you're taking the loan. Fair enough. I'm not judging you for that. But the minute your story gets better, please shift to a better bank where your rates are better, your rights as a borrower is better, and then tomorrow if something were to go wrong, there is an entire redressal process in place. Otherwise, you are in really, really deep trouble. So that is my last, one of the things that I wanted to share. Is there a next slide that you can go to? I don't know if I'm, so these are typically what, we would want you to be looking at. So I think, is that the last slide, or there's one more slide after this? I think that's the last slide. I don't remember. So the other thing that I wanted to, emphasize here is one more story that, I keep getting now, especially after the pandemic, is where people had taken that moratorium without realizing that they needed the moratorium. And the bank, for whatever and RBI, if you remember, had very, very categorically mentioned, you can go to the last slide, had very categorically mentioned that if somebody has taken this moratorium ka facility, they should not be reported any different from the regular borrower, so that this is not, tomorrow the new lender should not be judging them for taking this moratorium. But fact of the matter is, we know that lot of bankers are taking a view that people who have taken moratorium, they don't want to give loans. This is, hold on to this thought. Second thing is, when even if you have defaulted, forget moratorium, even otherwise, if you have defaulted, now please understand that 2 and 2 doesn't become 4 when we are dealing with humans. Sometimes, things are genuine, things are beyond our control, and we hit the rough patch. So whatever reasons you have defaulted, under no circumstance can the lender come and give you grief where they attack you personally, where they talk to you abusively, where they come and talk, connect with you beyond office hours, or come and do these meeting or trying to get in touch with you at your workplace. So these are all your rights as a borrower. Even if you are a defaulter, these are still your rights. So if somebody is doing something like this, you need to be raising a red flag, putting this out in the writing, let the bank know. If this doesn't happen, go to the nodal officer, go to the banking ombudsman. Now, the last I will talk before I open this for the questions is, uh, I don't know, a lot of people must have heard that, you can go to the RBI, beach mein put out these advertisements that there was an ombudsman, you can write to the ombudsman. Trust me, that ombudsman is a big joke, because what happens is when you write to the ombudsman, first is 6 weeks, the ombudsman has a right to sit on your story, on your letter. So he doesn't even have to open your letter in that 6 weeks. So आपका 1.5 महीना उधर ही गया. उसके बाद he will come back and tell you that, tell me how you are not satisfied with the service. Arey bhaiya, SBI, for example, I'm just giving an example. I'm not singling out SBI, but if they are typically someone that they will not even respond to your call, your email. Now, how do you prove to them that you are not happy? Because they are not responding is why you are not happy with the service. But ombudsman will say, no, you have to wait till they respond. If their response that they give you is not satisfactory, then come back to us. So this is utter nonsense. So that ombudsman is a complete joke. So if anybody of you here is stuck in that kind of a scenario, please let us know. We are happy to help you. And we are a company that it's a private limited company. So I'm one of the founder directors. So we work with all kind of individuals, SMEs, corporates, get you to build your credit profile. And typically, we do not get into this dusra PAN card banao, file faad ke fek do. We don't do those. We do everything which is above board. And we do, and this is possible. Credit repair is possible. Credit profile can be built, and we can make you credit worthy. Whatever time it takes, whatever legwork it takes, we are happy to help, and we are here to, work with you. So now I will, wait for your question and answers. And whatever is there, please, I don't know how you all want to ask, or somebody will read, and I am happy to take your questions now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was a fabulous information you shared, Aparna. Basically, we also handle many cases in Moneylife Foundation. But what you are telling us, it was like I was watching a Manoj Night Shyamalan movie. I mean, I didn't know what to expect from the stories. It's fantastic. I mean, the way you handled these cases and the way you guided people, it's quite good. So before opening the forum to others, I will start with the first query. Basically, we had seen that many people come to us asking, my score is very bad, so just tell me how to improve it overnight. Is it possible?
See, overnight is not possible. Like how, the dietitian tells you, you didn't put on the weight overnight, so you're not going to lose it overnight, right? So there is a cycle. So typically, in the first initial phases, when you do your repayment or collect your NOC and all of that, so that takes time. And then this credit bureau goes into the next cycle where it starts to reward you. So we are typically looking at anywhere between 60 to 90 days for a before and a after story. So it doesn't happen overnight, unless where all the loans, everything is all error. It is basically an identity theft kind of a scenario. वहाँ पे 6-7 दिन में हो जाता है. But otherwise, armed public, anywhere between 60 to 90 days.
No, but we heard cases where people came, realized that they are not getting any loans. So they came rushing to us and say that, okay, I'm ready to pay whatever they want, but please clear my CBIL. So it's possible.
So that's what I'm telling you, guys. They pay today, but then they collect the NOC this month. The data doesn't get updated with the bureau the very next morning, right? So there is a cycle. Then this credit bureau ka algo comes into the picture. So second month goes there, and then is where the credit score or your profile starts to improve. So it doesn't happen like overnight. So let's accept the truth.
Yeah, why I emphasize on this is there are so many of
I know.
advertise and messages who promise that they will do everything overnight. So that's why I'm just emphasizing on that.
Correct,
So
correct.
we'll just open. There are many people who want to ask the questions. So we'll just open it for Akshay. Ma'am, you want to say something?
No, just to say, Aparna, excellent presentation. Lots of learning for me as well. I thought we had handled plenty of cases, but really a lot to learn and wonderful case studies. I think by the time Akshay comes on the line, maybe we can take some which are already in the chat, right? So
I just saw one saying, independent director, why am I being punished? Congratulations for asking this question, because this is a very, very important question. I have these stories almost two in a week. Now, please remember, if you are a director in a company and your company defaults, then you automatically are part of that list where you are a defaulted director. Okay. Now, what happens is, I'll just take 2 minutes extra to explain, because this is a very critical thing for a lot of people. Now, what happens is, typically, say for example, month of Jan of 2023 से लेके month of May of 2023, your company has defaulted. Subsequently, they get into a OTS, then they pay and they move forward. All that happens, and they move forward in life. But ये जो Jan and May का बीच में जो data होता है, and for your bad luck, this amount is a huge amount, say 25 crore or whatever, then you are also part of that RBI defaulter list. Okay. So then what happens is, you are part of that database where you are in that defaulter ka list. Okay. Now, so far, so good. This is all theory, all well documented. What happens, unfortunately, in India, for which I am now fighting with the bureaus and the RBI, is now, during this Jan and May, you report them as a defaulter is fine. Subsequently, when you as a director, you need to be appointed by another company as an independent director, they are supposed to go through this database and you pop up there as a defaulted director. So that new company says, oh, sorry, sir, everything is good, but I'm sorry, we can't appoint you as an independent director because compliance-wise, you are failing. Okay, this is not your mistake. This is not that new company's mistake, nor is it the old company's mistake. I'm just assuming if all is well. So in this scenario, what you need to do is, we handle these cases on a weekly basis. In these cases, one needs to go and do a proper representation with the RBI, with those old bankers and the company, because there is a form that needs to be uploaded on the MCA website, and then this gets rectified. So if there are people like this, please do connect. We are happy to help. But this is resolvable.
Okay. Aparna, one more question in the chat, which a lot of people ask us is, what Mahendra Adke has asked, where to go if my CIBIL is showing some error. So there are multiple ways, right? Some wrong loans come on to CIBIL. So will you talk a little about
very simple? If you already know that this is a loan that never belonged to you, you've done that homework. On the credit, all the 4 bureaus have this thing where you can file a dispute. So in that, what is mandatory is, you should have a credit report. You just can't go and say, this account does not belong to me. So why you need a credit report is, there is a number. So they tag you with that number. So every bureau credit report, there is a number. It is called CRN number or, CIC number. Each bureau has a different name for that. So they need that number. And then you go and submit your detail and say that, A, for example, this account does not belong to me, or B, you say, I had already paid in full, but it is still showing that, there is overdue, or everything was fine. I don't know why it is showing as suit filed. Sometimes, it says this account is with an ARC, but then you have a document to prove that you had paid to the bank. So all these scenarios, you can go file a dispute, and the bureau is supposed to come back to you with a communication in 7 days time and get it resolved in 30 days time. And they do.
Excellent.
I am unmuting this Kshitij Agarwal. Kshitij, you can ask your question.
Yes, Aparna. So Aparna, thank you so much for this just a wonderful session. So basically, I'm a fresh college graduate. So basically, I graduated in 2022. So uh, and also I have just started working in just a corporate right now. So basically, I am very conscious about my just a credit report. Right. So right now I have a 2 to 3 questions regarding the let's say credit cards. So for example, in the let's say YouTube videos and so and basically in tons of blogs about credit card, it is said that we should not go above the let's say 30% utilization in our credit card. So is it true? So is it just a true or not?
Kshitij, don't mind. Can you type your net? I think is little unstable. Which I could not hear what you were saying.
Hello, Anna. So basically, am I
And
audible now?
keep your question really short and to the point, and one question. There are a lot of people who want to ask questions.
All right. So once, yes. So Anna, yeah. Yes. So basically, my question is that if we utilize, let's say, let's say 90% of our let's say credit card, so let's say, so basically, will that just say affect our let's say credit score?
No, I get your question. See, if say 3, I'm just giving an example. 3 lakh is your credit card limit, and you are saying if I'm using 2 lakh 70 or 2 lakh 80, is it going to impact my credit score? Now, if you are using 2 lakh 70 and you are paying back that 2 lakh 70, excellent. There is no issue at all. Where is the problem? If you are utilizing your credit and you are unable to pay that on a monthly basis, is where you will get into trouble.
Or basically, if you are going into that minimum balance payment kind of thing.
What obvious. So if you're not paying, is where you will get into trouble.
Okay, I am unmuting Praveen Godbole now.
Good evening, madam. My question is, why is there so wide difference between credit score in 4 different credit bureaus? That is number 1. Number 2, if I am a fresh entrant, I have not taken any loan, I have never held a credit card, then how can I build a good credit score?
Excellent question, Praveen. I had missed this out while I was speaking. Good you raised this. Two, I will answer your first question. Like I was talking in the discussion, the difference between the 4 bureau happens either there are certain institutions that don't submit the data to Bureau A. As per the RBI mandate, each lender is to submit the data to at least 1 bureau. Then they made it to 2 bureaus. But sometimes some smaller banks and stuff like that, they don't submit to all the Bureau A. Sometimes they don't submit it on a regular basis. The data needs to be updated every 30 days, but wo nahi hota hai. So these are all the reasons why, upar niche score hota hai, but it is not very big. It is usually 20 to 25 points ka aage piche hota hai. So that, even the lender knows. So that is not a big question. The second question is a very, very important question. If you are new to credit, if you are someone who's never taken loans, it may not be necessary that it is someone like Kshitij who's just started, working. It may be someone like, for example, somebody who's in their 60s and who's never had a credit card or anything and is now looking for an education loan for his kid. So he's borrowing for the first time. So that person also may be new to credit. इसमें क्या होता है? Why a credit report is the new lender wants to know your history so that he can take a call on you. Now, if you don't have a history, how does he take a call? Which is where he says there is no score, you have no credit profile, so I'm going to reject. typically जो young होते हैं वो अगर उठ के अभी head nor tail go and ask for a 7.5 lakh auto loan, obviously they're going to get rejected. But if it is someone who's in the second example that I gave, someone who's in their 60s looking for an education loan for their child, so there the banker sees all the other documents and he works. But there are also now enough options in the market where you can slowly build your credit profile and then go for loans. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you are new to credit, don't for the first time go and jump into a bigger loan, like say a 7.5 lakh gadi loan or a 80 lakh home. B, don't go and jump. Again, the next option should not be a personal loan because it's an unsecured loan, 150% they will reject you. So if you already know that भैया अभी 1.5 साल में मेरा बेटा फॉरेन जाने वाला है, तो तब मुझे एजुकेशन लोन की जरूरत होगी. So start building your story from now. So take a credit card, just spend, pay on time, slowly build your story and get there.
Yeah, Aparna, we have an interesting question from Nishant Modi.
Okay.
What he's saying is that if I had taken a loan and the bank itself goes down, so in that situation, if his EMI don't get debited or credited to the lender, so what does it affect his credit score?
It does, because I'll tell you what, uska bhi galti nahi. I mean, he's not at fault, but typically what happens is, that Punjab and Maharashtra PMC bank
PMC
that,
bank.
that went bust, and, so what happens is, that 6 month time where they were in a no man's land, but there was nobody to take their EMI, and sometimes there were stories where because that direct debit was there, EMI ka, that money was getting debited, but it was not getting credited anywhere. So it was, it was hanging somewhere. So all kind of stories happen. But here, what is important is you need to go back, like I tell always, put a written communication on this. And in what I had advised few of my clients when they were looking for loans who were erstwhile PMC borrowers was, say for example, they were looking for a HDFC home loan. I said, before you even submitted your documents and somebody did a credit check on you, go put this written documentation as part of your application. Ki bhaiya, I'm already telling you, ki this is my story. So don't judge me for this. Keep this in mind and then take a look at my credit profile. And so end of the day, because it is humans that we are dealing with, there are always solutions. But what is very, 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 very important is communication, honest communication, written communication.
Aparna, we have one question from Rutul Shah. He's asking what is the role of credit score agency if there is any major change in the past dated data. So I'm just adding one more question into that. We meet many people and they are still under the impression that it is the credit bureaus who change their scores or who make their score bad, because when they go for a bank, so bank said your CIBIL is bad, CIBIL ne tumhara score kharab kar diya. So they assume that it is the credit bureaus which are making all these things. So is it true?
No, it is not true. See, every lender is supposed to submit your data on a monthly basis to the credit bureau. Suppose you have 11 loans going on. So 11 lenders will submit your data to the bureau end of the month. For example, 30th of every month. Then, for example, CIBIL now. They take all these 11 lenders' ka data, put it in their system and update their data. Okay. So they are just going to be putting this data that is being submitted to them in their format, which is acceptable across in the banking system. So the bureau on its own doesn't do anything. If there is junk coming, then the junk is what is getting published. If there is error is what is coming. If it is updated data is what it is. So the bureau doesn't do anything. So even when you go raise a dispute like what we were discussing earlier, the bureau will say, okay, we acknowledge your dispute. We will go to your credit institution, figure that out from them and come back to you. So they are not They aren't doing anything. It is your lenders who are playing mischief if they are.
Kshitij has one more question. Does foreclosure of a loan affects the credit score?
It does you good, because what happens is, if you are able to pay your loan earlier, your ability to borrow again increases. So, you are able to raise newer loans if you are looking for. B, at a personal level, your cash flows improve. So foreclosure is never bad. But the only thing is, please remember, home loans, RBI has taken out the penalty. So no bank will charge you money for foreclosure. But if it is your auto loan, your personal loan, figure out what is the foreclosure charges. Sometimes, the foreclosure charges are way too higher. Makes sense to just continue paying the EMI for another 4 months and automatically closing. So do that math before you say yes. But for a home loan, foreclosure is excellent.
Okay. We'll just take one last question. Naveen Agarwal is asking, if I had a loan against securities overdraft account, the bank did not get documents renewed within the document's validity date. There was no outstanding amount in the account as well. There might have been some small amount debit on a particular day, but subsequently it got paid. Still, they sent me a letter saying renewal pending and mentioning the account as a NPA. I believe this has affected my CIBIL, as another bank refused me as a joint borrower in a student loan, saying that CIBIL is low for me. Also, I believe this has affected my housing loan interest. So what is the solution for it?
Typically these are scenarios where I would like to take a look at your credit report to understand a bit more before I give a generic comment on this. But if it is an OD facility, typically we all know what you borrow is what you pay the interest for. Sometimes there is a miscalculation, and then that penalty gets further multiplies, and you get into this scenario. But to answer his question, yes, if you've defaulted, then your rate of interest for home loan also would have been impacted. Somebody else would have also rejected your, student loan, education loan that you're looking at. But if you're looking to resolve your earlier crisis, I would like to take a look at your credit report before I comment anything on that.
Yeah, that was excellent presentation and information, Aparna. But before, I will ask you to share a few words about today's presentation and some tips for the people to rectify their credit. But Sujata ma'am, do you want to say something? Okay.
No, Yogesh, I have nothing to add.
Moneylife is always home. So it is like coming back home. So I'm happy to be, here, and I look forward to doing some solid work with the foundation. And for all of you here, don't get bogged down or overwhelmed, even if you are in a crisis situation, even if you have defaulted, even if you've not paid your cards on time, or the other gentleman said, my home loan rate is, don't get overwhelmed or bogged down. For everything, there is a solution, provided you've been honest and upfront. If you are the one who's mucked around, then, I know that you've mucked around and I know how to handle you. But if you've been honest and upfront and you've gotten into trouble, please trust me, solutions are available. So you don't have to go look for, committing suicide or, taking loan from the market where you pay 4% per month and, get into those kind of scenarios. Go talk to the expert, or go talk first to your own banker. Tell him that, Baba, mera job gaya hai. Abhi 3 mahina mere ko lagega दूसरा job milne tak. See how you can help. उसको भी नहीं चाहिए कि तुम्हारा account default हो. उसको भी नहीं चाहिए कि कल को वो NPA हो. So he will also work around with you. And I, recently I got a call from a guy, young guy. I'll just take 2 minutes. And the scary part is he is working in a bank, in a private sector bank. And he sends me his Excel. Sujata, there are 42 accounts, personal loans, credit cards that he has defaulted. 42. And then he tells me that I had a home loan, and the Bajaj took away that home also because I was defaulting, and वो जो पैसा था home loan के आगे जो लोगों ने ले लिया, and अभी मेरे पास कुछ नहीं है, and जो भी salary आता है, everything I have to pay in this, EMIs or a thing, and still I have so much outstanding. And then I said, why did you get into this trouble in the first place? So he says, अरे मैं अंदर था ना, तो मेरे को मिल जाता था, पर्सनल लोन भी मिलते थे, कार्ड्स भी मिलते थे. And my wife was someone who was high maintenance, and I couldn't tell her that I don't have a great salary and I am in a mess. So I continued to support her, and ultimately my wife has also dumped me and gone. I said, good for you. And then he tells me that I'm trying to look for a new job. No bank will look at me because the banks check my credit report. And he says, I have nobody, I have nothing in life, I don't know what to do. So I said, you have only two options. Either just run away from here and go to the Himalayas and sit there so that nobody comes to find you, or go abroad, look for a better paying job and see if you can come back and repay these loans. But tell the bankers that you're in a mess. And he never came back after that. So what I'm trying to tell you is, so don't get overwhelmed, don't get upset, don't do any knee-jerk reactions when it comes to your personal finance issues. There are always solutions. Look around, lot of help is available. We are there. Moneylife is there. Lot of informative articles are there. So reach out and we will help you. So don't make this as a big issue. It can be resolved.
Yes, exactly. I mean, these credit issues and default problems, it's not the end of the world. That is what everybody should understand. But Aparna, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation and sharing the Manoj Knight Shamal stories. It's wonderful to know what people can get into trouble and how they can come out of that. They can get a solution. Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sucheta. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.